Hey, what's going on guys? It's me, Aiden, from Cartoon Apocalypse, and today I'm talking about Princess Quasar Caterpillar and the Magic Belle, the Ghost of Butterfly Castle, and Cornball, or at least I'll be talking about the things that I didn't cover in my previous video, which was strictly talking about Meteor's lesson, because all three of these new episodes, they had some interesting things to talk about, but it wasn't enough to make a full video on every single episode, so I'm going to be summing up all three of the episodes and talking about like the main one, like the big points that were in each of the episodes, and just kind of talking about them in this one video. So I do want to mention before I get into this video that we do have a Discord, so if you are interested in talking with the community, then you can go ahead and do that. Also, just thought I'd mention it, I have a gaming channel. I just uploaded a video a couple days ago, so if you are interested in that, then you can go check that out too. Anyway, let's move on to this video. So I'm going to start out with Princess Quasar Caterpillar and the Magic Belle. So if you saw my video that I uploaded yesterday, then you will know that I was pretty confused about the title, and that there was a mistake in the title in that video. I did say it was Kate Pillar, but it is actually Caterpillar. The TV listings thing that originally had the episode, it did have a misspelling, so I've just been calling it wrong this entire time. I'm sorry for the confusion, but now that I know that, I won't make the mistake again. So the beginning of Princess Quasar Caterpillar and the Magic Belle is basically a reenactment of Bon Bon the Birthday Clown. And we don't know exactly what's going on here, but my guess is that this is either an alternate timeline or it's one of Ludo's dreams. Now I am personally going to go with the idea that it is a Ludo dream, because Ludo's just doing this as if everything was normal and like it was the original Bon Bon Birthday Clown episode, and it would make sense that Ludo would have dreams of this, because essentially this was like one of Ludo's greatest moments, because he actually succeeded in stealing the book. He did everything that he wanted to, so it does make sense that Ludo would have dreams about this, and everything in here to him as it was playing out, it all just seemed normal. Nothing seemed weird, like why he was standing on a giant fish and a crab. And we know that in dreams, everything just kind of seems normal, even though it's not. So to us as the viewers, we can say, hey, there's a lot of things, weird and wrong with this. But to him, while he's dreaming, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's my guess. You could argue that it wasn't a dream because he was still in his outfit when he met Dennis. But I also just think that could easily be explained like he was just dressing up as a clown or something. I don't know. Ludo's kind of weird, so we kind of have to give him some freebies here. So my guess is that was just a dream, but you can think what you want. So basically this episode, at the very end, it has a scoreboard saying Ludo versus the forces of evil, and the scoreboard goes over and checks a 1 for Ludo. And this is pretty much just saying that, Ludo's trying to be good, he's trying to, forget being evil, and so there's Ludo being good versus Ludo being evil. And that check turning to 1 on the side of Ludo is saying how he's winning, he's not going back to evil, or at least at the moment, he's doing good, and he is succeeding in his goal to not be evil. So that's pretty much the gist of this episode. Ludo is here, but he is just being good, and he's not turning out to be evil like some people thought that he might. And it is cool that, a bunch of Ludo's family is helping him rebuild the castle. He's got a lot of his, minions, you could call them, back. So, yeah, that was just a fun little, Ludo episode that you might have enjoyed. So now moving on to the Ghost of the Butterfly Castle. We can see that Moon's little, let's call it a kingdom, because right now it's not necessarily a kingdom, but there's a lot of people who are still going to Moon to lead them and stuff. So it is good to see that Moon's little kingdom is thriving and growing in people, and they need a schedule and things like that. So I do think that Moon will eventually become like a leader, even though at the end of the episode she just kind of let it all go. She's like, okay, you know what, I'm not ruling over these people anymore. So I don't exactly know. It would be interesting to see that Moon, would start up her own kingdom, but this episode kind of is like pushing away that idea as far as Moon just trying to give up. In the end, though, I don't think she'll be able to. I think she'll go back to her roots, but we'll see. Now, I did want to mention that there was a statue of Skyween, the Queen of Hours, so that was pretty cool. Cool little reference for us book readers. We got to see a lot of tapestries for the other queens of Muni, so that was interesting to see. They were all scratched up and stuff, but it is cool to see those other tapestries that we haven't seen before. Now, the main gist of this episode, like, if you were to skip this episode, and the main thing that I were to tell you, if you wanted just a recap, it would be that Mina Loveberry is back, she's out, and she's trying to, she's trying to kill Eclipsa. Or maybe not kill, just take out, demobilize her maybe. Mina was the person who tried to yada yada Eclipsa. Now, I know that there were like a lot of people who thought, oh, what if Eclipsa tried to yada yada herself? And I was never personally on board with that. That didn't make too much sense to me. So I am glad to see that it was Mina who in fact tried to yada yada her. And I'm surprised that we didn't make that connection earlier, because it's kind of obvious that Mina would be the person. Like, looking back at all these things, it's like, dang, we probably should have been able to predict this a lot sooner. But yeah, whatever. So Mina is in her like terror form. I can't remember what it was called from the book, but she is out, and my guess is we will see her again in the episode Coronation, because that's, like a half-hour long episode, and something's bound to happen with her. So my guess is we will see Meteora contesting against Eclipsa, so that'll be interesting to see. So now moving on to Cornball, one of the earlier points is that Kelko is coming up strong, I guess. Yay for Kelko. They're not like official, I don't think, because, Kelly still called Marco a breakup buddy, but we do see that Kelly kissed Marco again. It was just on the cheek and stuff, but it is still, progressing this idea of Kelko and just kind of getting us as fans warmed up to it a little bit. And that is, of course, until they just barge in with some Starco stuff on Beach Today and, things like that. Of course, that's all speculation, but it'll be interesting to see. This episode was mainly just an episode where it was Star and Eclipsa trying to bring monsters and humans together. And it was also showing how it's not working. They're not actually being brought together, except for they kind of are. The kids that were at this game all got together and played their own giant game of Cornball. And they were all, mixing and mingling with each other. There were some monsters, some humans on the same team. And we can see that the adults, they weren't like fighting the other adults over this. But, they still weren't totally warmed up to it. And Buffrog did say that, at the moment our generation is not going to allow it, but eventually when the other generation surpasses the previous generation, that's when things are actually going to start changing. And since Buffrog came to that conclusion, he decided hey, why don't we just go ahead and stay in Muni, because things are going to be rocky and things, but as time goes on, they will start to improve. And I think that this is a very big parallel to our world at the moment. I think a lot of these newer kids, the earlier generation, Generation Z or whatever they're called, they are going to be the generation that just changes everything. Not only in just, racial divisions, but also just this whole technology thing. Technology's taking over, and it's going to be super interesting to see, in 20, 30 years, how different society is with all these kids who grew up with technology. So I am definitely interested to see how life is in 10 to 20, 30 years. So that was basically what was in this episode. Then there was one other thing that I did want to mention that is about Eclipsa. Star asks Eclipsa to show Buffrog how much she cares about monster and human unity. And then Eclipsa just kind of dismisses the question oh, I'm still looking for Meteora, saying that she cares more about Meteora than anything else. Now, obviously, that's understandable, from a mother's point of view and things, but she could have just said oh, yes, I care about it, but I'll go into detail later, I'm looking for Meteora. She just completely dismissed the question. Now, some people may think oh, okay, that's perfectly fine, but to others, we're going to notice hey, she just did not care at all. That's not necessarily a good sign, saying that, maybe she doesn't care so much about the unity and she just has other motives. Maybe those motives are related to Globgor, maybe Globgor is trying to make monsters take over. And I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting to see. There's definitely something with Globgor that we don't know yet, and maybe Globgor hypnotized Eclipsa or something that made her just not care about humans as much and make her, like, think monsters should take over. I don't know. It will definitely be interesting to see as the episodes continue on, so that'll be cool. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for me. If you did enjoy this 3-episode analysis kind of thing, discussion video, whatever you want to call it, then you can leave a like and subscribe for more content similar to this. If you have any video suggestions, like theories or ideas, I do take suggestions, so go ahead and comment them down below. I will look through the comments and things, and if I see one that I like, then I might make a video on it. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me, and I'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye.
I am so proud.